right, so now we're going to move on with our next guest speakers. It's a panel of 3 people that I have met through work and through school. So I'm very, very excited to present to you a panel on reasonable accommodations in college and in the workplace. So I would like to welcome up here Eric, Shurene, and Andy. So Eric is someone that I met a while ago, and he used to be the clubhouse manager at the Deaf Community Services, and now he works with me at Disability Rights California. Andy is someone that I met at SDSU when I happened to join a meeting that happens every Friday on campus at the Student Ability Success Center. Shurene, actually, we've taken a lot of social work classes together, and I got to know her really well. We've done a lot of group projects together, and just getting to know her has been a real privilege and my honor. And I hope that together they can answer a lot of your questions, or maybe let you know about some services that are available to people with all types of disabilities to ensure that they have equal access to education, and to let everybody know that people with disabilities are more than capable of being very productive members of the workforce. So I think we are ready. So maybe if you can sit closer. Yeah, there we go. Be all in one. And I'm just getting to know how to use this microphone, so I'm just going to quickly explain that there's an on-off switch. Here. On and off, so when you're not talking, if you could leave it off, and when you are talking, if you could turn it on. So without further ado, we have Andy, Shurene, and Eric. Thank you.
Hello. So my name is Andy Martinez, and I am the president of the Student Ability Success Advisory Board. And just to give you some information about SASE, we used to be known as Student Disability Services, but we recently changed to Student Ability Success Center. And just to give you some information, there are currently 1,956 students registered with SASE, and it's from a huge spectrum. So it's from visible disabilities to non-visible. And some of the software that is offered through SASE is like test in extra time, having a note taker in class, or you could get your lectures recorded, alt media, functional limitations. So all of these accommodations are based off of your disability or what is required. There's captioning. And then there is also preferential seating. So if you need like a special seat in the front of the class, you can request it through SASE. And then there's a quiet room / extra where you can take your test. So what the SASE advocates do is we're basically a student panel, and we try to represent the disability community in our school. So when there's like a new project, like a new building, they will usually come to SASE advocates and try to get an input from us. And then there's also groups who want to learn more about the Student Ability Success Center, and we tell them what we do. And if there's any access issues, you can come to one of our meetings and bring it up. So some of the services that I personally use is I have a learning disability, so it's not visible. And some of the reasonable accommodations that I have is having extra time on a test and in a quiet room. I also use Kurzweil. So Kurzweil is a computer program where you can get your books made into digital media, which is also available through Sassy. And for me, when the books are read back to me, it helps me to process it better. So through Sassy, I was able to get that accommodation, and I also get a note taker because I'm not a fast note taker. So having a note taker helps me out a lot. Yeah. And basically, in order to receive these accommodations, you have to meet up with a academic counselor at Sassy. And they basically help you, and they spend time with you, asking you what kind of accommodations you need or what is in your IEP as well. So some other services that are offered are alt media, which is the person in charge of Sev. He is really helpful. If you need to use Dragon, he'll help you to learn how to use it, or Kurzweil. And then there's also the Trio Center, which is located in the Capoli Student Health Services area on the 3rd floor. And there you can get counseling, peer mentoring, or tutoring. Does anyone have any questions on about the Sassy advocates? Yes?
So I did note take for one of my classmates last fall, but supposedly for doing so, I could get 3 minutes applied to my degree for helping.
Mm-hmm.
And who would I talk to for that, because I still haven't seen that reflected on my degree evaluation.
Okay, did you go up and talk to the Student Ability Success Center?
No.
You would want to go up onto the 3rd floor, and there's a office that they have, and that's where you want to go to.
Oh.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, so I'll pass my time on to Eric.
Okay, hello, good afternoon. My name is Eric Gonzalez, and I now work with the Disability Rights California as a disability advocate. So my job is to coordinate outreach, schedule, and provide different presentations, and I do that through the use of a VP, a video phone, and I make calls through that. And that's one of the few requests that I had for the job, is that I have a VP accessible to me, and I have support staff who knows sign language, ASL, and that's really helpful for internal things. If I need to meet one-on-one with a coworker or a client, I can pull in that interpreter to help with the communication. Also, I have a master's degree in rehabilitation services from the California State University of Los Angeles. I'm originally from LA, by the way. I was born and raised there, and I got my degree there in rehabilitation services. And I requested for my classes, sign language interpreter, CART services, and if for some reason the interpreter wasn't there, or there wasn't enough interpreters to provide me an interpretation, then there would be CART service. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with CART and what that entails. Basically, a person has a laptop, and they're assigned to basically transcribe through typing everything that's being said in the class, the presentation, and it shows up on a screen. And I can look at the screen and read it, read the text messaging there. And at the end of the class, I can save it to a USB, and then later on I can print it up, do the transcript, and use it for my own notes. So that's really beneficial. And that way I can use the notes for studying, preparing for future tests and whatnot. So let's see, I had the interpreting services, the cart, also note taker was also provided. Just as the person in the back had mentioned. And that was new. You were talking about getting units as an individual that does the note taking. When I was a student and getting my degree, there was no units that a person could get for volunteering to do note taking. So I'm pretty impressed. That's pretty new to me. And so let's see. I think that's pretty much it about my accommodations while I was in school. Yes.
The card service, was that a student or was that a special person who was transcribing that? And did they notify you beforehand if they were going to do something like that? Or is that done more on like a kind of on the spur moment or on a regular basis?
Well, the school had everything ready for me. All the equipment was ready. The individual was there for the classes. It was all arranged that way. I used CART maybe a couple of times while I was in college. And I graduated several years ago, about 10 or 15 years ago. That's a pretty long time ago. So I can't remember exactly how the process worked, but so I'm asking my colleague here, Raneem, if you've had experience in requesting CART. So how'd you get that? You had to request it from somewhere?
Yes, I use them for large conferences. Sometimes that can be difficult because when there's a panel and there's turn taking with the audience, it can be difficult for the interpreters. So I have a captioner there, so I miss nothing of what goes on at that conference. So I can use both the interpreter and the CART services.
Yes. Let's see, I'm trying to think back to when I was in college. Haven't been to school in quite some time now. So I think most of the time the colleges, the institutions there have equipment in the offices. And I had to meet a counselor there at the DSPS, Disabled Students, I forget what that stood for, Persons with Disability. But most colleges have that office for individuals with disabilities can go in and ask for accommodations and request, all the equipment or special accommodations that they need. And like the individual before me mentioned, if they need extra time for testing, that's where they can go and ask and make that request as well to get that extra time for that, for like the final exam. So, any other additional questions? Okay, well, I guess everyone knows this stuff, so, and knows what a deaf person needs. Oh, yes.
I know that since you've been working now, have you ever had any issues with, like, interviews or something where they weren't willing to work with you to provide an interpreter?
No, I work with the Disabilities California Rights Center, so We have no difficulties with that, no frustrations with lack of interpreters. Pretty much our needs are met. Interviews have interpreters provided, and when I'm working with coworkers and I need to communicate with them, I can use the software like Skype, and that's something you can download to your computer and then send a message to a coworker instead of having to go into their office and write down some communication. I can do it from my desk and send messages to the other coworkers through that program, and in order to complete a task or whatever. And as far as my supervisor, who is in Sacramento, Northern California, I can communicate with them through Skype as well. And my supervisor is not deaf. Now I use a video phone in order to call, and I get a sign language interpreter on the other end. That interpreter then makes the phone call to like my supervisor, who picks up the phone, and so the interpreter handles the communication between me and my supervisor. And so that is a third party, you might say, that helps with that communication between me and my supervisor.
This
Yes.
may be an ignorant question, but I'm just wondering if it ever feels like impersonal when you're having to use an interpreter to like conversate with someone.
No, if it's work-related, no. If it's a personal thing, let's see. I'm trying to think. No, not really. That is a good question. But no ignorant question, so I'm glad you brought it up. And if at work, like we might have a potluck, get together, something like that, we bring in an interpreter to interpret the communication, with the other individuals there. We bring them in, and if a hearing person has a question or a personal question or whatever, like what they do over the weekend or what their plans are for the upcoming weekend, the interpreter handles that communication, so there's no real issue with that. Yes.
So I have one question. So I know that you guys are disability rights California, but say somebody that is deaf applies for like a job, but then at the interview they're not willing to accommodate for interpreter services. What can you guys do at that point?
Well, DRC, I see, I'm trying to understand your question. You said DRC would not provide an interpreter?
Just in general, as in say somebody that's deaf does apply for a job, and for example, the job isn't willing to provide an interpreter for them so they could understand the question that's being asked. Do you guys step in to advocate for the person?
I see, I understand the question. Yeah, we would advocate and also help them self-advocate as well for what their needs are. Their right to have an interpreter, and if that particular employer is not going to provide an interpreter, especially for the interview, there are other resources that we could make available and refer to that person to get services. Maybe try to find an advocate there to help them. And maybe they could contact a job development department, EDD, through Deaf Community Services, that may help them to try to find out why an interpreter is not being provided and make sure one is. Yes.
I'm sorry, can you start over? So we can voice it. That's fine.
Like, how do you feel about high school teachers teaching ASL, but like pigeon science? I see that a lot because I took some classes at Paul Martin. A lot of kids that came from high school, they end up, learning a lot of pigeon science, sea science, and do we need like better teaching at high school? That's more proper.
So is this an ASL class? If so, then they should have an instructor that's teaching ASL and not some other form of sign language in English order, something like that. Well, it should require an actual ASL instructor, someone that knows ASL and can teach it.
But to like segue into that, a lot of these kids are going to college to like be interpreters or helping in debt services, but they're getting taught wrong from the get-go. So is there anything we could do about like bettering their education so that when they get to the level of wanting to be an interpreter or getting into debt services, that they can have like the right foot in the door?
Well, at the high school level, the kids are taking what ASL 1 and 2, basic sign language courses. When they go into college then, they can look into further the ITP program, the interpreter training program, to get more classes and maybe learn, whether it be C sign or the pigeon sign or ASL. Thank you. Yes, in the back.
Do your interpreters ever make a mistake or mess up what you're trying to say, what you're trying to communicate?
Yes. Yes, it does happen. It's like, oh my goodness, I didn't say that. That's not what I said, But yeah, it does happen. And when that does happen, I might notice the audience reacting differently, or maybe it seemed like it didn't answer their question or something like that, and I can pick up on that and think, where did the breakdown happen? Maybe it was the interpretation. So I'll ask the interpreter and clarify, what was it that you just said? What was the interpretation? And I catch it, and I'm like, oh no, that's not what I said. No wonder the audience is reacting the way they are. So then I clarify and make sure the interpretation is corrected. So yeah, it does happen. But, as a deaf person, I'm observant. I'm looking at the audience reaction, making sure everyone's following and understanding, things like that. Or sometimes, if the person's not clear, I may or they may ask that the question be repeated, and so then it gives me another chance to clarify. Okay, I guess that's it. Thank you.
My turn? Hello? Okay. So thank you for all the awesome information on Sassy. So, Hagani Mum, hello everyone. Na Nanihan Shurene Premo, Na Dokabadi Night. Hello everyone, my name is Shurene Premo. I am from Duck Valley, Nevada. I come from the Great Basin Territory in northern Nevada, and I carry the Dosawehe White Knife clan in my bloodline. I am representing the Noa Nation, which is the Shoshone Paiute Nation. And I would like to thank the Kumeyaay Nation for allowing me to reside on their sacred homelands. So, I am a double major in American Indian Studies as well as social work. At present, I am working with Dr. Margaret Fields of the American Indian Studies Department, and she is guiding me along on learning my own Noa language. And I am also acquiring hours through the California Consortium of Addictions, Programs, and Professionals, which is CCAP, to become a certified alcohol and drug counselor. I chose to pursue a Master of Social Work degree from San Diego State University because I feel my life's calling is to advocate and strengthen human prosperity, as well as meeting the essential human requirements of all people from diverse walks of life. I know that I will come across all nationalities working in the social work field. However, I would like to stand up and advocate for Native American peoples across the United States and Canada. Currently, Native Americans only make up 1.7% of the population. We are one of the most underrepresented groups of people in the United States and Canada. Some of the significant issues we are dealing with today are high in prevalence in Native American communities, such as suicide, alcohol and drug addiction, high poverty rates, and currently the missing and murdered Indigenous women epidemic. The majority of these issues are forms of intergenerational trauma in which stems directly from historical trauma. I dedicate my education to helping my people to heal. Being a transfer student from a small, intimate, familiar community at Cuyamaca College, I know that I was a bit intimidated when I first arrived at San Diego State. While I was at Cuyamaca College, I was a survivor of a tragic accident that happened in 2016. The DSPS at Cuyamaca College was very supportive of me, and they helped me with Dragon. It is a computer program where you speak into it and it types for you. So that was really, really helpful. I remember my first semester at State, I was so intimidated. I had to take biology and biology lab, and I'm not really good in sciences or math or anything. It was a bit of a challenge for me, and after a while, I started feeling inadequate. I felt as if my other classmates were younger and smarter than me. It was a struggle, and I started doubting myself. I remember one day after biology lab, I went home and I cried. I told myself I quit, and being at a university was just not for me. I just was not smart enough. At the same time, I was enrolled in the Student Ability Success Center, SASE. I took their class, which was a seminar where they support students in acquiring study as well as interpersonal skills for academic and personal success. Within my peer group, I was able to lean on them for support and uplifting. In this class, we spoke about our challenges as well as goals while being at university level. In the class, I was able to visualize and work on my strengths. The course supported me and made me feel like I had family at San Diego State. I remember one day after being with my group, I told myself I can do this, and all the sacrifice I had put in to get into SDSU, as well as all the ups and downs I had survived, I decided to step up my game and give it my all. I started going to office hours, I spoke with my professors, as well as utilizing tutoring and the testing center through SASE. I spoke with my counselors at SASE, and they were very supportive during this time. I pulled up my grades in biology and passed both classes with flying colors. At this point, I told myself I would never let my fear hold me down again. I can honestly say that SASE supported me in my college career, and it taught me that we are all different and we all come from different walks of life. And you should never be ashamed of asking for help or being a part of SASE. Always be kind to each other and support each other, because you never know what others may be going through in life. Today, I work hard and I am determined to succeed. I am a strong, resilient, determined Noa Nama Waiapa, Shoshone Paiute woman. I walk standing tall, and I know that my ancestors are protecting me daily. I am doing this for myself, my culture, and my people. I believe in all of you, and you should too. I would like to thank Linda. Where'd she go? For all her hard work and everything she does in our SDSU community, and for putting on the Create Access for All conference. Excellent job, Linda, and everyone who is a part of this beautiful event. We just said thank you to you. Any questions?
What was it like transferring your medical information to another university? Was that a difficult process? And was there like a gap period where you didn't have services?
So like, I started early with all my paperwork. Sassy is really good at, they stay on top of you, telling you, get your documents in early as possible. And so what I did was, when I was still at community college, I started the process way early. At state, I did the applications very early, so by the time I got to state, I was already in the program. Well, I think at community college level, they were calling it the Student Disability Success Center, but the staff at Sassy are so awesome. They got it changed to the Student Ability Success Center. I think that sounds nice.
I just wanted to comment that at Grossmont and Cuyamaca, they changed it to ARC, Accessibility Resource Center, instead of ESPS.
Nice. Very nice.
Does anyone else have questions or comments or anything that they want to share with the group? Nancy.
I'm also an SDSU student, but I do remember when I transferred from San Diego State College to university, and whenever I would need help, I would feel so bad asking for help because I hate burdening other people. And I feel like if I ask for help, I'm like failing other people by not being self-sustainable. And I could say that perhaps it's like a cultural thing. I'm Chicana, Mexican American. And in that culture, if you don't know how to do things, you need to figure it out whether it hurts you or not, because you can't ask for help. And I was able to connect with you through that, because that's something that I still have to deal with, knowing, okay, I really need help, and not feeling guilty about asking for help.
Thank you for sharing that, Nancy. It was such a powerful comment that I want to make sure that I can repeat it so that all of us have access to this information when they're watching the video. So correct me if I say it wrong, but from what I remember you saying, Nancy, that you transferred from City College? Yeah. City College, another community college, and there you felt shame? You felt great. Okay, so you went from City College, you felt great, and then you went to San Diego State University, and there you felt like you couldn't reach out, and you think maybe it was due partially to you being Chicana, and maybe it's a cultural thing that we feel shame or kind of guilty that sometimes we may feel, and sometimes I feel that way too, like I have trouble asking for help, but that's why I'm very grateful for all the volunteers here today, because even though I didn't ask for help, they volunteered their help. But what Nancy was saying was that perhaps it's a cultural thing, perhaps it's not. What else was there? Oh, that she was able to connect with what was being said up here with, what was said up here. Was there anything that I missed, Nancy? That was it. Yeah, sure.
So when I first got into state, it was recommended from Pam that I definitely get into that class. Do you know what the class is called?
No.
No? I think it's called like US something, disability. I don't think it's a credit or no credit, but
I kind of know what class you're talking about. Some kind of class where you can ask what kind of things that you may need to be better supported. And I wish more people knew about it. It's under general studies, which is the strange thing is that the Disability Society class, which is very popular on campus and has been held for so many years, we don't have like a major in it. It's under general studies. So for people to find out about it, it is a lot of word of mouth. And that's a shame because this class is so powerful and it really is no judgment kind of safe space to ask questions and learn from people. Yet it's just random class out there and you wouldn't know just looking through the catalog. But there is another class under general studies that helps the students or offers support for when they're transitioning from high school or community colleges, from wherever they came from, to learn about the support services on campus. And I wish I had known about it when I was transferring. I am not a registered student through SASE, the Student Ability Success Center, but I am a client of vocational rehab. And there's also that option of having the DOR counselor, the Department of Rehabilitation counselor, actually be a counselor at SDSU through the workability program. So there's all these resources out there, and I know that it is a big emphasis. Andy and the other SASE advocates are working on promoting these services to all students because there is also that disconnect with students who have never been diagnosed or newly diagnosed, and learning how to advocate for oneself is a lifelong journey. And so I'm really thankful that there is that class. Unfortunately, neither of us can remember what exactly it's called, but I know that it exists. And I'm sure if you were to contact the Student Ability Success Center, they would know what that class is.
And it wasn't even, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay, real quick though, it wasn't even a class that I needed, but my counselors were like, this is gonna help you. And it was such a small, intimate group, and everybody came there, scared. New students, transfer students, we had been at our community colleges for so long that there was a fear there. And so we did a lot of presentations and group work to bring us out of our shell. And if we ever felt uncomfortable, we could always come back to our main group and our counselors, and it really helped me out because I wanted to quit.
Yeah, and if you are part of the Department of Rehab, they also offer Workability 4, which is a service that SDSU offers where it can help you find a job within your major, but it has to be through DOR as well. And so, yeah, we want to advocate and let freshmen know or transfer students know about SASE so they won't have to suffer, or so they know what resources is available to them.
I always am a big advocate for preventing crisis instead of dealing with it in the moment. So I think the more that we can talk about the services already being offered, the more that we can empower people versus have them feel that shame or guilt for needing to ask for help. But thank you, Nancy, for sharing your experience because it was a catalyst for this conversation to happen. Does anyone else have questions, comments, or anything? Ruben.
I took a Native American class a few semesters ago, and I heard you mention how you guys are the most underrepresented people. You guys are also the people that have the most addiction in your communities, the most teen pregnancy, most homeless.
Yeah.
Everything is crazy. So I just want to shout you out for representing your people.
Thank you.
And my real question is since essentially this was your guys' land, and how do you feel about America today, as in political climate, how it is now, anything, there's good and bad, how do you feel as a person? Because right now you're the voice for your people.
Well, and before you answer that, I just want to again make sure that everyone can hear the question. in the comment, which Ruben was shouting out Shurene for mentioning that Native Americans are the least represented population, and that he took a Native American class. And
that they're the highest population of like addiction.
least represented, highest population of teen pregnancy and addiction and homelessness. And then your question actually was,
How she feels about her land.
Ruben's question was, how does Shurene feel about her land? Her land what?
And like the political climate and that, with everything that's going on.
How does Shurene feel about her land and the current political climate?
Well, these are always difficult topics to talk about, but the older that I've grown, the more comfortable I've been with speaking on it. And like I mentioned, what I just said a little while ago was that these are hard topics to talk about. Some of our people, it's so hard to talk about that they don't want to talk about it. And if it's brought up, they'll just walk the other way. I think in this day and age, many Native Americans don't really know what the word historical trauma means until we explain it. And then they're like, yeah, I live with that every day. And so we don't really like to dwell on the past, but it's kind of embedded inside of us, the hurt and pain of our ancestors and our grandparents. So today we see really huge movements of people, and I don't like to use the word fighting, but advocating for social justice in Indian country. And so I think a lot of things get swept under the rug, but if you look around, you'll hear about rallies, everything that happened in Standing Rock with the Dakota Access Pipeline. That brought in nations from all over the country and Canada, and even nations from all over the world. And so, like, currently right now, we're having a really hard time with Native American women going missing and murdered. And we don't hear anything about it on the news, nothing. I mean, just nothing. And not even just women, but men as well, and children. And if you really look at it, it's stemming back to historical trauma. And so until we heal from that historical trauma, it's just going to continue through intergenerational trauma, meaning if it happened to my grandparents, it's going to happen to my parents. And if it happened to my parents, it's going to happen to me. And if it happens to me and I have children, it's going to happen to my children. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to be the one person in my family and my community to stand up and voice my opinion and what we can do to heal this. And I do that through my education. When I started school in 2012, I dedicated myself to my Native people. So every assignment, every paper, every research assignment, I always made sure it was on Native American people, because there's no current data on our people at all. Nobody cares to take it. Nobody cares. And so what I like to promote is that, yes, with my education, I can go back and change things, but at the same time, if we are gonna heal, we have to go back to the ceremonies. We have to go back to the language, revitalize the language, and teach the youth our culture instead of the youth picking up the intergenerational trauma of alcoholism and suicide. So it's a lot of work, but I have dedicated my life to this, and I feel like if we connect back with our roots, then we're gonna heal.
Thank you, Shurene, for answering that question. Thank you, Ruben, for asking the question in your comment. At this time, we're going to conclude this panel, and I just want to give a warm round of applause and gratitude. Andy, Shurene, and Eric, thank you so much for taking the time out to share about your experiences. And I know that I learned a lot, that I'm going to go back home, Google that name of that class, and for next time be able to give all the correct info about that. Now is time when the Voices of Our City Choir are going to set up their band and get ready to perform at 2. And then at 3 to 3:30, Derek and Ruben are going to talk and perform. And then 3:30 to 4, or as long as you would like, Ann Talene is going to do laughter yoga. So there's still a lot left of wonderful experiences to come. So feel free to take a break, enjoy the self-care room, and be back here at 2 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.